Hi there, everyone. It is currently the 20th of October 2013, a Sunday out here in the Western Pacific, and we are still watching, well, a very violent Typhoon Francisco. According to the U.S. military at this time, the winds near that center of circulation, right around that eye wall, that is very well defined, and, well, that core eye wall is very, very significant at this time. Winds are gusting up to 170 knots. That's about 315 kilometers per hour. I don't know if you've ever been in a car driving at 350 kilometers per hour, but if you ever have, that's moving at a fairly fast pace, and that is how fast the air is moving around this storm system. So a very violent typhoon, not quite the strongest, according to the Japan Meteorological Agency yet this year. I know Typhoon Usagi had a pressure right around 910 HPA. This one near the center of circulation right now is about 920 at its peak intensity as it continues to track off here towards the northwest. And that is really the good news with our typhoon here, is that it is now at its peak intensity, well out over open ocean as it continues to track off towards the northwest. So we're expecting the intensity to start to fall off here as it moves out there towards the southern Japanese islands before swinging towards the northeast. This is the official track from the RSMC, though. Let's continue to look around first at JTW, who also, much like JMA, expects the storm to peak at intensity really right at this time before here going on to the 23rd at 00 Zulu, so we're into the morning, starting to approach Daitojima with winds right around 150 gusting up to 140 knots. Now, they still have a very large cone of air, and yes, Okinawa, you are still in the cone of air, but at least at this time, it does look like it should stay towards the east of this area over here. But I want to stress that with our storm system moving off here towards the north and turning towards the northeast, just like I've said yesterday in the video prior, there's going to be pretty tight gradient setting up because this is going to be going extratropical. So you will be seeing these tropical storm strength winds coming from the northwest, not only across Okinawa, but also the Amami Islands. So it is going to be pretty windy out here, despite that storm system likely not making a direct landfall. And I say likely because this is still several days out. It could even still waver a little bit farther there towards the west. Now, beyond that, though, more and more so looks like this storm system is going to move right around the Kii Peninsula over towards Tokyo, basically in a very, very similar track that we saw with Wipha out here. And that's actually what I'm reflecting here in my track from westpacweather.com. Our storm system basically moving off here towards the northwest, coming really close to the Amami Islands. And I think you could be seeing some typhoon strength winds out here. I took Naha and Okinawa really out of sight, the cone of air, but really kind of should leave them in here because you still could be seeing some pretty gusty winds, but I don't think the center line is going to pass right over the island at this time. And then moving off here towards the north, skimming the Kii Peninsula, and basically moving either right over Tokyo or just off Tokyo, right over the Izu Islands. And if you remember Izu Islands, Oshima is there, and they are still recovering from Wipha, which just left a path of destruction. Over 830 millimeters fell across that island. Let's take a look around at some of the models here. Now, this is going into Thursday evening via the GFS model, so really kind of going rather slow with this one. It's parked right over the Amami Islands, and it actually moves very, very slow. We can back it up even towards Wednesday, and it's still right over this area. Now, that is the southernmost model tracking out here. And like I said, I don't expect the center of circulation at this time to go over Okinawa. But if this scenario does unfold, which it seems like it's kind of on the left side of the model output, but if it did unfold, you still would be at least seeing tropical storm and possibly typhoon strength winds out here. So, yeah, you definitely want to watch out for that. I also know that there's this storm system developing farther towards the east. A few people pointed that out yesterday. That very well is going to stay well out over open ocean, so I'm not really going to touch on it very well too much here, but it's going to be our next named storm system, likely going into next week. You can see here with the ECMWF model, this is by Thursday next week, very similar output. They have that storm system coming off here, moving close to the Amami Islands and turning towards the northeast, and actually moving it right over Tokyo going into Friday. If we can just scroll it ahead a little bit farther. Remember, this is still like over 5 to 6 days out, so there's a lot of time for this to continue to change, and I've been stressing that the last several days. This is going in the Friday morning of next week, and you see this approaching the Tokyo region, so we could be seeing, well, 2 typhoons in just under a week and a half. That would be something quite unusual for Tokyo. Like I said, though, the same trough that's picking this up, that's coming in from the northwest and pulling it towards the northeast, that's also going to pick up this other storm system. So that should keep it well out over open ocean. But we're going to obviously keep a very close eye. But at least given this update here on Sunday, at least at this time, I do think if you live in the southern Japanese islands, you definitely should start getting ready for some pretty gusty winds. I know that after Danas, a lot of people took in stuff from outside, and I think that's probably what you should continue to do. I don't think it's going to make a direct landfall there, especially for southern portions of Okinawa where a lot of people are watching from, but it very well could bring some pretty gusty winds out here going into Tuesday and Wednesday, then eventually off towards Thursday and Friday. This is actually the NavGem model. It pulls it off there towards the north. You could be seeing all these pretty gusty winds, heavy rainfall, and the dangerous risk of flooding and landslides across much of Japan, including the Tokyo area, yes, by next Thursday and the Friday. Maybe you might get an extended weekend out here if it does come through Friday. But as we saw with Wipha, Japan's culture does not say stay home during a typhoon. That's unfortunate for Tokyo. I mean, this video I was shooting when Wipha came through, and you can just see people coming off the trains because everybody's still heading off to work, and by about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it seemed like nothing ever happened. Very well could be a similar case here. So a lot of stuff to still watch with this storm system. What I can tell you, though, is at this time, it does look like it is going to be approaching the Pacific coast of Japan from the Amami Islands all the way up through Tokyo. All these areas I put inside the cone of air should be preparing for really that center of circulation, the pass overhead. But outside of that cone of air, you still, especially along the western periphery of this, I'm talking about over towards western portions of Kyushu, even extending out across the southern Japanese islands, be ready for some tropical storm strength winds. But that is all for right now, though, everybody. Thanks again for watching here at westernpacificweather.com. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you can always post them down in the comment box below. And as always, stay safe out there.